if you don't know or are unfamiliar with Gravity Falls was a Disney animated kid show created by the one and only Alex Hirsch, who not only created it, but voiced a good bit of the characters in the show too. And when this show came out, it brought an entirely different feel to the Disney Channel, creating a sense of mystery, suspense, and allure that has still been going strong years after the show ended back in 2016. Yeah, it's been 8, almost 9 years since this show ended, and it has kept such a strong and devoted fan base that is still going after the mysteries of Gravity Falls. There's a lot of strengths this show has going for it that has allowed it to be the megastar hit it became, and honestly is just so genius how Alex Hirsch created it. So I'm going to be breaking down what I believe to be the biggest strengths this show has and why this show got and deserves the level of stardom it has now. For strength number one, this show is very easy to access for all ages. I think we can all agree that the best kid shows are the ones where the kids can enjoy the wacky art style or the silly jokes that are put on the forefront, but the older teens and even parents can still have fun with the story, with everything that is put into the back and that is so well developed that most kids probably won't understand. And so much of this story is so captivating, so interesting, and honestly just pure fun in the way it delivers its world building that you can watch this show time and time again, and it will never once feel like a chore to watch. In fact, there's so much going on, so much to be explored and uncovered, that you will honestly, every time you watch the show, you're going to find something new that you didn't pick up on your first watch through, that you are really going that this is what has kept fans captivated for so many years. And so yeah, I think this show has such great rewatchability. It is so good for families, and it has allowed this show to keep fans at for multiple generations as they are still looking for things and mysteries to unsolve. So yeah, that would be my big point for strength number one is its accessibility. Strength number two for me is that all the characters are very interesting and have good contrast with each other. For this point, I'm mainly going to be talking about Dipper, Mabel, and Stan, but all of the characters have some unique personality, going far back as just the two goofy cops that you'll see that are just such a fun time when they're on screen. But for this point, yeah, I'm going to be talking about the main Pines. And speaking of the Pines, Dipper and Mabel are great as the protagonist and deuteragonist, respectively, as they have such a well developed twin sibling dynamic that really allows them to bounce off of each other in the best possible ways for storytelling. Dipper being a super nerdy and smart kid that always keeps to himself and doesn't know how to express himself to people is contrasted perfectly with Mabel being a super extrovert that doesn't know when to not stop talking, and she always sees the best in people to the point of even being used because of her kindness sometimes. And this show takes their personalities and actually creates real dilemmas that siblings would have and mixes it into the strange and mysterious world of Gravity Falls to create that perfect blend that I think this show perfected in its 2 seasons of runtime. For this example, I think Carpet Diem is honestly a perfect showcase of this, as it shows their sibling nature of not wanting to share rooms due to their conflicting lives, but at the end of the day, they spent the whole episode running away from each other, trying to get as far away as possible, but as soon as they actually separate rooms and they understand each other, they realize that they love each other too much to want to be separated for something so small as the difference of opinion. So even if Dipper could have that new room, he would prefer to stay in the same room as his sister, just so they weren't lonely until they had each other at the end of the night. And that's just so sweet, and I'm honestly glad Gravity Falls never had them permanently separated from each other, as they always had them find a solution together no matter their differences, like any real siblings would, which I'm so glad they did instead of generic tropes that I would have hated. Besides them, though, Stan was always a great addition to the show, really showing the depth he was willing to go in order to protect his family. And when he starts with this comedic, weird, and gross grunkle. But as you watch and learn, you really see he's the foundation holding everything in place in this show. All the other characters, like I said, are also entertaining and memorable in their own ways, and it's easily one of the best things of this show is their characters. Moving on to strengths 3 and 4, that's going to be the antagonist Bill Cipher and the fact that Gravity Falls is a actually complete story. For being a kids show, its main villain is not a lighthearted guy. He has ruined life, he has caused chaos beyond the world's compare for his own goals. And Bill is so interesting in the way that it's hard to really tell what he is when you're watching. Every time Bill is on screen, you never know what he might do in his acts of chaos, as they can be as petty or as severe as he likes and would desires. And I think that honestly is a great writing choice because it almost forces you to pay attention to Bill, to always be on the lookout for him and his plans. Not to mention, he's a very entertaining villain. He fits the mold of Gravity Falls very well, and the ending of the show gives him justice and actually makes him a booming threat to the point that it is a very well deserved ending that does not tarnish or disrespect Bill Cipher's character and instead actually gets the best of everything to make it that huge payoff. Speaking of that ending, it was beautiful to put it plain. Gravity Falls succeeds, I believe, in tying all of the weird and supernatural stuff that you've seen in the 2 seasons of the show, and it really lets you know that everything had a path, everything was planned for this ending. Everything paid off. It was so beautifully delivered that fans have been wanting more and more content for years, and rightfully so. Genuinely. If you have not watched this show, or if you have been considering watching it, no matter what age you are, go watch it. It is fantastic. It deserves all of the love and admiration it has developed. This is something special here to a lot of people, including myself, and there isn't anything I'd want different for the story of Gravity Falls that we have because it was perfectly made and cared for. Now, that isn't to say I wouldn't be against more seasons. Specifically, one idea I've always loved for years now is the idea that years later, an adult Dipper and Mabel would be forced to come back to Gravity Falls after some unknown anomaly of whatever origin started happening that required their skill set. And because so much time has passed of them both being in their 20s now, I'd imagine both the stands have gotten too old to help, but they can still give words of encouragement or words of advice to them so they can play that even bigger mentor role. But I know that's a fever dream, and we're probably never getting another season of the show since Alec Hirsch has made that very apparent over the years. So I am perfectly happy with just getting the lore and content we get from him, like the books, and a few months ago, him releasing the This Is Not a Website.com, which was a website created alongside the release of the newest book, The Book of Bill, both of which showing more of the world of Bill and his world and the overall story of Gravity Falls. All in all, though, this is a timeless show here, and I really just wanted to voice my opinion on it because I just got into it again and I just remembered how much I loved it. Scale of 1 to 10, I'm telling you, this show gets a 9 or a 9.5. The only reason the show is not a 10 is because I just wished it was longer, and I was sad to let the show go. But definitely check it out if you haven't already, and I will be seeing everyone next week with a Dandadan Season 1 video. So until then, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all then. Take care.